I thank the Minister representing the Minister for Education today for taking my grievance. My grievance is on behalf of the students, parents and staff of local schools in Darling Range who are in dire need of state government funding for capital works, but sadly have missed out on the recent investment made by this government. I have many schools requiring infrastructure investment. However, due to the limited time today, I will be raising only two, but believe me, I will come back and list the others later. Clifton Hills is one of the schools I wish to raise today. It's a wonderful school, has a great community with caring staff and a very active and engaged PNC, a PNC that many schools would be envious of. But however, their facilities are outdated. The undercover area is unenclosed and far too small to accommodate the number of students until recently, when it was flooded regularly during wetter months. This dramatically limits the school's ability to conduct whole-of-school assemblies, as the weather must be favourable in order for them to do so. It also means that in bad weather, students are not always able to leave their classrooms during recess and lunch, preventing them from going outside, exercising and burning off some energy, which I know we all understand that our kids need that free time. The frustrating part of this is that while the school is currently fire compliant, the compliance is grandfathered and it does not meet the current modern standards and are currently substandard to our newer schools. This in itself is extremely concerning to me and to the students and parents, as I know every member in this place will remember the devastating bushfires we had in Kelmscott in 2011. Clifton Hills Primary School is located in this high bushfire-prone area of Kelmscott, and it's only considered fire compliant because it was so at the time of construction. If the assembly area were to be enclosed, or if there was any other works on buildings, the whole building would need to adhere to the current regulations. And as currently it has old fire compliancy, it means it would need to be upgraded to the modern standard of fire compliance. In short, Clifton Hills can't resolve their assembly area issue until money has been spent to bring the entire building up to the current modern standard. Through questions on notice, I asked about this matter in September last year. I asked how many schools in fire-prone areas are not fire compliant and how many schools are not able to develop or expand due to their current fire compliance. The Minister's response advised me that there were none. I also was informed that there was no need to provide additional facilities or to upgrade facilities on the site in a bushfire-prone area. The facilities are designed to meet current codes, including those relating to fire compliance. If this is true, I'm at a loss as why Clifton Hills hadn't received any money to bring them up to the modern fire compliance standard after they had one of their buildings repaired and upgraded following a truck hitting the building actually the night before the by-election of Darling Range. So there has been upgrades and works done on this site, yet their fire compliance hasn't been upgraded to the modern standard. So my question, Minister, is why wasn't this school included in the recent announcements for education funding on Monday, the 3rd of August? I accept West Byford Primary School is in my electorate and received funding for new classrooms. And on behalf of all the students and teachers at West Byford, I wish to thank the Minister for that investment. However, when you have much older schools like Clifton Hills Primary School, who do need an all-year-round assembly area and really do need to have the modern fire compliance, being in a high fire-prone, bushfire-prone area, to me it's not acceptable to leave them out. The Clifton Hills Primary School kids and community deserve far better, along with the other older schools in Darling Range. One of the other schools I wanted to quickly bring to your attention today is our Rollystone Community College. I wrote to the Education Minister about the issues facing their school on the 3rd of July. I informed her that, like Clifton Hills Primary School, Rollystone Community College lacks an adequate undercover area because it doesn't have a gymnasium. This makes it difficult for teachers to fully deliver the arts and the physical education curriculum and makes it impossible to hold whole-of-school events or assemblies due to the weather being far too hot to have students sitting out under the sun or too cold and wet under the rain. The college also identified an ideal location for a gymnasium that could also be a dual-use facility, providing an undercover assembly area as well as enabling students to undertake their phys ed studies no matter the weather. This facility could also be used by the broader community of Roleystone. Not only would this be great benefit to the Roleystone community in the long term, it would also create local jobs for construction phase, which is greatly needed due to the fallout of the economic impact of COVID-19. In the same letter, I informed the Education Minister that there was a serious issue with the parking facility at Roleystone Community College. Parking at the college was designed for a district high school. However, the college now has an intake from kindergarten to year 10 and is the only school in the entire suburb. Unlike high school students, kindergarten students must be picked up by their parents, and this has led to traffic volumes that are significantly higher than the capacity of the existing facility. Congestion has become a daily problem outside the school as a result of the inadequate facilities and has become increasingly dangerous for the students. The incredibly hard-working Roleystone Community College P&C have been collecting information on near misses on the footpaths as parents attempt to bypass the congestion by driving over the footpath to the park. Minister, there is an easy solution to this, and that is for a second kiss and drop to be constructed on Rayburn Road, and this will ease the traffic pressure and increase our students' safety. The need for this infrastructure is clear, and I was disappointed to receive the response from the Minister on the 28th of July saying, and I quote, "At this stage there are no funds available for capital works projects at Roleystone Community College. However, every consideration will be given as priorities are assessed for future capital programs." However, 5 days later there was an announcement by the McGowan government and it saw Roleystone Community College and Clifton Hills Primary School neglected and not receiving 1 cent of money out of this. Minister, I'm asking that you reassess this for the safety of our students.
Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Member for Darling Range, I'm responding on behalf of the Minister, and I thank you for your grievance. I'm going to just provide her information that she provided. So the Minister is pleased that the member for Darling Range has begun to advocate for her local schools. The Minister reminds, I'm reading it, the Minister reminds the member for Darling Range that she was the member for this area under the previous Liberal National Government. She had the opportunity to be a strong advocate for her community then. She had the opportunity to be a strong advocate. Excuse me.
Member for Dawesville, you'll be going back to Dawesville very early on a Thursday morning. Go ahead, Minister.
The Minister reminds the member for Darling Range that she was a member for this area under the previous Liberal National Government. She had the opportunity to be a strong advocate for her community then and fix infrastructure issues at these schools. She in fact had 2 terms to do that, and instead of raising it then, she was part of the Liberal National Government that left $44 billion worth of debt to all Western Australians. The Minister notes that now that this government has announced a $492.2 million school building package as part of the $5.5 billion WA recovery plan, the member for Darling Range has shifted her attention to school maintenance. The Minister for Education has advised that she is aware of the concerns of Roleystone Community College. The Minister has received correspondence from the member for Darling Range, but also from the Honourable Matthew Swinburne, MLC, the member for East Metropolitan Region, who has been a great advocate, for his local schools.
Someone who knows the schools.
Member for Morley. It's unfortunate when the whole House goes quiet and you're the one yelling. And member for Darling Range, please, both of you.
There are 818 public schools in Western Australia, ranging in age from new to more than 100 years old. Priority for school upgrades is given to projects that ease enrolment pressure in fast-growing suburbs and remediate facilities at the end of their life. The Department of Education actively monitors enrolments at all public schools to assess if they're coming under accommodation pressure. This process includes an analysis of classroom capacity, student accommodation projections and residential growth in the school's local intake area. The Department of Education is aware of projected growth in enrolments of Roleystone Community College in coming years. I'm advised that the college has enough classroom space available to manage the projected increase in student numbers. The department will continue to closely monitor growth in the area. The Minister is also aware that the Rollie Stone Community College does not have a purpose-built sports hall or or performing arts centre, and the school's request, and she is aware of the school's request for funding to undertake these projects. The Department of Education has been working with the principal of Rollie Stone Community College regarding traffic management. An on-site meeting with the school was held on the 23rd of July to discuss options and a way forward. The cost of a new kiss and ride and parent car park at the college is over $250,000. At this stage, the department's traffic management budget is fully committed. However, the needs of the college will be considered against other statewide priorities when future capital works programs are determined. In 2012, the Department of Education funded a $248,790 parking upgrade at the school. The Clifton Hills Primary School. In June 2019, the Honourable Matthew Swinburne raised this matter with the Minister for Education. At that time, the school was seeking support to extend their covered assembly area and remediate drainage issues. I'm pleased to advise the member that the drainage issues at school were addressed by the Department of Education and works were completed earlier this year. Clifton Hills Primary School sought advice on the extension of their covered assembly area and were advised that these works will trigger fire compliance requirements. The covered assembly area is currently fully fire compliant. The covered assembly area is currently fire compliant as it meets the standards of the time at which it was built. In line with building requirements, the school would need to meet the current fire requirements to upgrade the facility. This is not unusual. There are buildings across the state that are fire compliant at the time of their build, and as fire compliance requirements have changed and buildings have been upgraded, they've needed to be brought up to the new standard. Officers from the Department of Education have met with the school to discuss the upgrades and provide approximate costings for the works. The school is able to use their one-line budget to complete these works. I can also advise the member that Clifton Hills Primary School was allocated $323,033 in the School Maintenance Blitz program to address high-priority works. We continue to deal with the debt that the previous government left behind, and it's only because of the McGowan government's strong budget management that we've been able to invest significant funds in schools to ensure all students across the state have access to world-class facilities. This includes $492.2 million as part of the Building Schools Recovery Package, including $2 million for a new classroom block at West Byford Primary School, $200 million for the School Maintenance Blitz, of which Darling Range received $5.2 million. This is the highest amount of funding received by any seat in metropolitan WA. $229.3 million as part of the rebuilding. $229.3 million.
Members, member for Dawesville, that's the second time and it's not even... Member for Dawesville, it was way too loud and you know that. Don't be disingenuous. Go ahead, member.
$229.3 million as part of the Rebuilding Our TAFE programs, the biggest TAFE investment in history. Cutting fees on select courses by up to 50% to ensure anyone who wants to go on to get further training can afford to. That's right. The McGowan government is reducing TAFE fees after the former Minister for Training and now opposition leader Lisa Harvey increased some fees by as much as 510%. 510%, Deputy Speaker. We're also building a $22.6 million new state-of-the-art TAFE campus in Armidale, which will be used by the member for Darling Ranges' constituents. A new purpose-built TAFE in Armidale will make vocational education training programs more accessible for people across the growing metropolitan southeast residential corridor and provide pathways into long-term employment for youth and unemployed seeking retraining. All of these investments have only been possible because of the strong budget management of the McGowan government. It shows the McGowan government has a strong track record investing in schools and training, unlike the previous government.
Member for North West.